folks, what's going on? I am Pruitt. Welcome to the nice weekly hangout on air with the smartphone photographers community. I mean, we're getting together and talk about different tips and tricks, and we like to call this thing point and shoot. You know, we have a lot of fun. Hope y'all are doing all right. Again, this is a community on Google Plus. It's all about your smartphone and making you a much better smartphone photographer. These little cameras have a lot of power that unfortunately most of us don't quite pull out. Sometimes we take these shots and they look okay, but they can look a lot better with just a few little tweaks here and there. But anyway, I'm meeting here tonight with some of our community members, moderators, Mr. Joey Kelly up in Maine. How you doing, my man?
Well, it is a wonderful day up here. It's getting colder in the evenings, and the leaves are beginning to turn, and my motorcycle battery is beginning to die overnight, so I can't ride. Sorry, 2 uppers and a downer.
Jeez, man, good grief.
But no, it's a great day to be alive up here, as it is always. And I got to tell you, I really do look forward every week to sitting down here and talking with the biggest Patriots fan in Texas, and the guy and the only guy I know that reminds me of a rapper.
Come on, man.
Sorry, that's an off hangout conversation coming back to fight them.
Oh gosh, where's my mute button? Jeez.
You have no idea how many people I have run into in my life that have wanted either a volume or a mute button for me. My ex-wife, my parents, my dog. I mean, everybody has.
And Michael muted you.
King. You can't stop the signal.
Well played, Mr. King. Good to see you as always, Mr. Joey Kelly. Thank you for joining us this evening. Next up, we got the prankster there down in Tejas, Mr. Michael King. How you doing, bro?
Well, after the weekend, weather's been gorgeous. Now we got more rain coming in, but we're finally going to next week actually get out of the 80 degrees and get into the 40s.
Welcome to Texas, folks.
Climbing a frickin' river.
But after this last week, we can take it because, oh, man, I haven't seen this many tornadoes in Houston in so long.
You just keep those down there, my man. Unfortunately, the weather you're getting down there is giving me nothing but rain here, so I'm not too thrilled. But
yeah, I noticed. Right. I noticed. Was it Monday night, Tuesday? Monday night, yeah, the Monday night football game with the
Panthers. Yep, monsoon.
All that rain. Said I knew where that rain came from.
Monsoon. All right, folks. Well, as I was saying previously, we get together to talk about different tips and tricks and other findings that we will come across, whether it's an app or a service that's out there, anything that's smartphone photography related, and sometimes photography related, which can end up being smartphone photography related. But in addition to all of that, we have a weekly photography challenge. One of our members each week picks a theme for a challenge, and we end up putting them into a little Google event online, and everybody in the community is invited, and we go in and we vote on our favorite picks. But the hope is to not only get nice photos in there based on the theme at hand, but to get a nice explanation of what was going on, how we took this shot to where it would fit the theme that we had at that particular time. Sometimes we get that, sometimes we don't. Some people are a little shy when it comes to talking about their photos. But before we get into that, we're going to do a little chit chat here about a few things. Let me ask these gentlemen here in the panel. When it comes to editing your photos, what is your photo editor, Mr. King?
Well, I like to edit. If I edit on the computer, I'll actually use Lightroom.
Okay.
On the phone, I'll use that Lightroom mobile.
Okay.
But I would rather then sometimes for final tweaking, since it has the capabilities of being sent to the desktop, I'll finish up in Lightroom to see if anything can be done, because sometimes I see it looks good on the phone, But the minute I put it on my computer screen, it looks like crap.
Wait a
So I
minute.
go back in and just do the final tune-ups on that.
I think I misheard you. What was the first thing you said? The first thing that you added in
Lightroom on the phone.
on the phone, and then you said you'd like to take the Lightroom on the computer.
Right, just to see if what even though this is a Retina uh, high
QHD
screen,
screen.
and I go, yeah, it looks good, but it's still a small screen compared
Yeah.
to what I see on here.
Yeah.
Then I'll send it to that and say, I'll either confirm that my edit is where I want it, or look at it and say, ooh, I'm way off.
Yeah, and just continue on with the better monitor.
Right,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
then I'll
But what
send
about you?
but
Well,
then I'll send it back to my phone to upload it to the group.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It's all
Well,
good.
to bring in an old car analogy, there's no replacement for displacement. There's no replacement for a monitor with bigger pixels. You can't get a sense for a picture, on a screen that big like you can on a 24-inch monitor. There's just no comparison.
Even a 19-inch monitor or a
Whatever you
13-inch monitor. Yeah. It's bigger than what your phone offers you, and it always
Exactly.
helps. But what is your editor?
Lately, honestly, I have been doing a lot of the editing on Snapseed, and I credit this group for pushing me in that direction. And I don't generally. Let me back up. If I've shot it on the phone, I will try at least to edit it on the phone if I'm
Okay.
thinking about it.
Okay.
If I've shot it on my digital SLR, I'm importing it into my computer, and it's not going to go to the phone generally, unless it's a processed image that I'm saving for the ability to show someone on the phone. So if I'm editing on the phone, I'm pretty much using Snapseed. I've got other editors loaded, but nothing. I don't spend any time with any of them. If I'm on the PC, I work within a combination of editors. I do most of my asset management and tracking within Google's Picasa.
Okay.
And I do that primarily because, well, now I know what Picasa looks like. I'll just skip that. I'm going to show you something, but no, never mind. Y'all know what it looks like. Because I live in the Googleverse. In terms of my services, my Gmail account, my Google Plus, my Google Picasa Web that I used to use quite a lot.
When you're in a certain ecosystem, it does play an important part in your decisions.
It does, and because of that, just having the integrated email function, you don't appreciate that until you don't have it. Because if you're using something besides Picasa and you're trying to email out of a Gmail account, if you don't have something like Thunderbird, or say, for instance, you use Hotmail or Yahoo Mail, as many people do, if you don't have a Gmail account and you're using Picasa, there's no way to email out of it without using a go-between like Thunderbird, Outlook, or Outlook Express. If you even have Outlook Express, that means you're on XP. So I use Google software because I use so many other Google services, and it just works for me. Picasa I think, is underrated as a photo editor. A lot of people think of it as a tweaking platform and as an uploading platform, but I really like it as an editor. But when that fails, Lightzone, which is the open source clone of Lightroom, and oftentimes I jump straight to the GIMP for heavy duty stuff.
So in short, you have a myriad of editors in your repertoire, and it all depends on the job at hand, right?
Yeah, some things are easier to do in a more powerful editor, even if they're a basic edit, and other things are just quick and dirty. I mean, Picasa works great for simple crop, but if you want to really tweak like curves and whatnot, Lightzone or the GIMP, definitely.
Okay. Well, I asked you guys that because I was just trying to get a barometer of what's going on and what's being used here in the panel. And speaking of an addition here, Mr. Mike Sweeney joins us. How you doing, man?
Doing well. How's the audio?
You sound great.
Good. I'm
And
on
your
my
picture's
laptop
clear.
in the parking lot at the soccer field.
That's what's up. Just nerding it out. Just nerding it out as usual.
Yep, folks, it's not creepy at all to be in your car on a laptop outside a soccer field.
That's right. Not at all.
Not creepy at all.
The only thing missing is the camera or the big lens.
Oh gosh.
No,
So
what's
not
missing
right.
is the antenna made out of the Pringles can.
Hey, I've got one
Yes.
of those.
Oh my gosh. We are a bunch of nerds. That's awesome. But no, what I was saying was I wanted to just get the barometer of what people are using as far as their editors. Because I use Snapseed, and as Joey said previously, a lot of people in the community use Snapseed. Well, recently, Snapseed, your free mobile photography editor available on all of the platforms, has recently updated, and they didn't change the interface like they did with their last major update and pissed a lot of people off. This time, they allowed you to edit not only JPEGs but your RAW files. If your camera is on your phone is able to shoot in a RAW format, you can now edit those photos.
Okay. I'm going to get a little bitchy about that.
Okay, I'd love to hear it. Give me a Sweeney rant any day. This is going to be good.
So
Attention, people, this is a rant from Sweeney. It's a
raw
new feature.
file, you're using raw file inappropriately.
Well, I'm sorry. Correct me. Please do. Please correct me.
So I don't know of any smartphone that can actually shoot a raw file.
Right.
Because by definition, a raw file is literally what the camera gets, converts it to color, and done. Doesn't
Right.
sharpen, doesn't adjust it, doesn't do anything to it. And it's usually a proprietary format.
Uh-huh.
Requires a special raw converter afterwards to actually do your editing. That's what that's what the Adobe RAW converter is all about.
Let me correct myself. Digital negative RAW. Is that better?
Nope.
Okay.
When most smartphones, when they say raw,
Uh-huh.
they're talking an uncompressed TIFF.
Okay.
It is not a raw file.
Because
It is a
if
TIFF file.
any other time it would be in a JPEG where the phone did all of its magical processing to figure out
Exactly.
how good it's supposed to look and
Exactly.
Right.
And a point of reference is some of the better apps. So your average JPEG on a Apple iPhone, normal Apple processing,
Yep.
comes in about 1 meg, plus or minus a little bit.
Yeah.
The average TIFF file will come in about 10 meg. So that's how much more data you're getting. It's
Uh-huh.
still not a raw file, but it's a hell of a lot better than the JPEG.
Right.
What iPhone are you basing that off of, Mike? Because
My 5S.
Because mine are a heck of a lot bigger than that straight off the.
No. I went shooting and I did a lot of comparison, and the average JPEG on my 5S came in about a meg and a half.
Wow.
Let me just go.
Yeah.
Not
I
that
know
I'm
on the
disagreeing with you.
Nexus, because Joey has a Nexus 6 as well. I know on the Nexus, mine average out from a JPEG format, probably about 4 megabytes, something
Yeah.
like that. And then when I shoot in that DNG format, the last couple ones I looked at have been about 25 megabytes. They've been huge, humongous files.
Yeah. The iPhone 6.
5 out now.
Now the iPhone 6S,
It's different.
6S Plus, since they got a bigger.
Bigger sensor.
Yeah, so
Higher
that'll
res.
make a
They're up.
difference.
They're up there about the smallest one I've seen coming off of it is like 25.
Yeah, so that'll make a difference. That sensor size, right?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I know I'm going to be. Anyone want to see a comparison of phone cameras? You need to go to Flickr and look up Andy Anako.
Yeah.
He's put up all of it. He has pictures of everything of the same thing from his iPhone 6S Plus, the two new Nexus, the Nexus, what's it,
Mhm.
5P and whatever the
5X and
Nexus
6P. Mhm.
6P and 5S, and then he has pictures from his I think one of his other Android cameras, and he said he's comparing all of them. He says still the iPhone is almost 200% better heads and shoulder of everything. But he said those others are beautiful. He has one of a squirrel that he took with the, I believe it's a 6P.
Mm-hmm.
Very, you can see the fur and everything. And
Yeah, I
it's,
want to get my hands on one of those one of these days and see how they are.
but yeah, it's really interesting seeing all the comparisons of all the different phones, cameras.
Just to speak to that point, Mike, I'm kicking around my recently shot pictures with the Nexus,
Right.
and the selfie cam, which that's what I call it. It's a front-mounted camera.
The front cam, right?
Yeah. The I call it the selfie cam because, quite frankly, what else do you do with it? Really? I mean, that's about it.
Exactly.
This
Well,
is low res.
Skype.
And
Skype.
well, okay, fine, but you know what I mean. In terms of stills, you don't do anything else with it. I took a couple of those recently, and they're running around 400 kilobytes, a little bit more. There's one at 300 kilobytes, but my JPEGs, the ones that I've looked at, the smallest one I found was over 2 megs, and the largest was like 5.5, pushing 6.
Mm-hmm. From your rear camera.
So
from the rear camera.
Yeah. So Apple's selfie cam has always sucked. It's got a very low resolution to it.
Yep.
The other thing to consider when you're talking about size of JPEGs in particular is this a bright, color-filled scene, or is this a dark, monochromatic scene?
Right, that was the other thing I was going to say, because JPEG, when you get darker or you have a large section of black, it will compress the heck out of that and cut the file size down dramatically.
Yep.
Well, even still, if with someone taking 2 phones to take the exact same shot, you still could get differences because of however their algorithm is, right?
So
in file size.
Algorithm's everything.
Yeah.
And everybody's got their own way of implementing the JPEG standard as far as how much compression they're willing to live with.
Right.
How many colors are going to give you, how sharp it's going to be. The analogy is a raw file is you get all the ingredients for chocolate chip cookies with walnuts on the countertop.
Uh-huh.
That's literally what a raw file is. The cookie's not made. A JPEG is the finished cookie with the walnuts in the cookie and the chocolate chips.
Yeah.
Baked. Done. If you want to remove those walnuts, you can, but it's messy as hell, and it'll never be the same afterwards.
That's a good point. Good, yeah, good analogy there.
I use that in my class.
But yeah, I played around with it. I don't know if you guys have played with it yet, but I've been playing around with the new feature in Snapseed. And what happens, and I'm going to end up doing a formal review. It'll probably be published next week. But what happens is when you go to open up said, in my case, digital negative, a DNG file, you open it up and my phone freaks out because it's like, what kind of file is this, And if you don't set your phone to open it up in Snapseed, it's just going to wig it out. So I set it to open it up in Snapseed. Snapseed churns through it, opens it up and says, this is not just your regular JPEG. Let me give you some more developer options. And when you look at the regular menu of Snapseed, you have your brightness, you have your contrast, your highlights, your shadows, warmth, and ambience, I believe. But when you open up one of these raw files, you get brightness, contrast, highlights. It's about 3 or 4 more different options.
Absolutely.
And it's beautiful. It gives you a little more leeway to try to make that image as good as you can from an editing standpoint. And as we've already mentioned, the file is so much larger, so you got a lot more data to work with. So you can be fairly judicious with some of your editing on there. If you really want to push the contrast on it, push it, because that file can probably take it, and ideally you'll lose a lot of detail by jacking up your contrast. But in some cases with these, you won't lose as much detail because it's all there, But it's a really nice looking interface there. They didn't totally screw it up. They didn't. It when it pops open, it looks like what you're used to, and you can scroll down and do everything like you've been doing. So Good job on them. That is a free app again with all of your platforms there. But my question I wanted to ask you guys, outside of the three of us, who cares?
Four of us. Hi. I'm over here in the corner.
Okay. Yeah, I saw you. I see you now, Joey. My bad. Outside of the four of us, who cares? Who cares about that? Okay, Snap, so you can open up these raw files. Whoop-de-doo.
Well,
There's a lot more people out there who care than you think.
Mm-hmm. Like who? Because I care, and I have reasons why I care.
Your prosumers care because they're starting to realize the smartphone's actually a capable camera.
Yep.
When used properly.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell you, even within that comment, I shoot on my DSLR. I shoot what they call fine JPEG plus RAW.
Hold on. Can you please repeat that? Your network went crazy on us.
Oh, sorry. On my DSLR, I shoot what Nikon calls fine JPEG and RAW, which means for every picture I take, I get a very high-resolution JPEG and a NEF file, which is Nikon's RAW format. Now, that gives me the ability to go into, pick an editor, including Picasa, by the way, and bring up that RAW file and massage it to my heart's content, literally until the cows come home, and then after they show up too. Yes, Mike, moo. Anyway, he's just trying to milk that one. Anyway, and so it begins. This is where Ant just starts smacking himself in the forehead. And Michael King keeps muting me, you wacko.
Anyway, carry on, sir.
Anyway, the thing is that even being I'm going to call myself a professional photographer because I've gotten paid to shoot pictures. Okay. Being a professional, the vast majority of the time, the edits and whatnot that I do, particularly if they're not getting printed, are done on the JPEG. And the quality difference is not noticeable, and most of the print shops that I work with will not even take a RAW file. They're set up for JPEGs.
Yes, they can't.
So even if... They
can't.
Right.
They don't know how to develop your picture.
Exactly, because there's no processing there. So what you end up having to do is take the RAW file, process it, tweak it the way you want, export it as either a TIFF or a JPEG, usually JPEG, and then send it off to get printed. So, quite frankly, usually my JPEGs are good enough as they are that with a couple of minor tweaks, that's just what I use. And I keep the RAWs for future proofing.
You know, I thought about this because of some scenarios that I've been in here recently with shooting at events and whatnot. And there are times when I want to shoot with my smartphone, and there are times when I want to shoot with the mirrorless. And every now and then I'll shoot something with the mirrorless, and I have the whole social media thing in my mind because I'm trying to do the promotion and whatnot. And sometimes I'll shoot something with my smartphone and it's good, and I'll send it up. Sometimes I'll shoot something with the mirrorless and I look at it and I'm like, holy crap, that looks good. And I want to send it up. And fortunately, and I'm sure most of the phones have it now, most of the cameras have it now, is my mirrorless has NFC on it. So what I find myself doing is taking NFC and putting it to my smartphone or the tablet that I have in my hand and copying the photo off of the phone, off of the camera onto my mobile device, do my edits inside of Snapseed and whatnot, and then I can send it up to social media that way. Now,
hang on a second, Ant. I can't speak to anybody else's gear but my own, but I know that none of my gear has that capability.
Oh, really?
None of it.
I thought it was more common now.
Well, it might be for new, but on an SLR, you're a professional. You're shooting JPEGs that are 6 megs a whack, at least, if not more. You don't upload that RAW to Facebook, generally.
Facebook won't let you.
Right. Well, there are those caveats, but I'm talking about in general, like the ones that I run through Snapseed or what have you, because most of the time those things get compressed after my edits anyway.
Right,
And
but
then
I'm
I can
talking about your NFC capability. That just doesn't exist.
Joey,
um,
a lot of the nowadays, a lot of the newer point and shoots and a lot of the newer, like the Sony mirrorless,
Mhm.
now have that capability, and even those they can send the actual raw file up to your mobile device. Unfortunately, if you're on iOS, you're not, even though it has NFC in it, you're not going to be able to do that because a certain fruit branded company, locked down the NFC.
but even if I haven't. I've had some scenarios where I didn't use NFC. I have a USB um, SD card reader that I can plug into my camera,
Mm-hmm.
or not camera, plug into my smartphone, that will read the files that are on my camera. And now I'm curious to see how will this work with the new updated Snapseed, because I can take those files from the mirrorless camera and put them onto the phone. Will Snapseed take those? How big are they? I think they're usually about 20 megs too on there, on the mirrorless. But
Mm-hmm.
I just when I saw that update, that was the first thing I thought about, is what about the people that are way better than me, if they ever find themselves needing to do a quick upload or something, this gives them an
I
option
just
to
thought of
try to do
something.
it.
There's that SD card that has that Wi-Fi in it. That
Yep.
might, those things, I know. I've heard Leo
Th-
talk about, he uses that to send it to his iPad to do edits on it.
I believe it's called Yetu, I believe was the company. I remember interviewing them.
Are you
Well,
talking?
there's also an iFi.
iFi. That's it. iFi. That's it.
Yeah,
iFi.
and
Yeah, they're SD only. They don't do compact flash.
Oh, really?
No.
no,
Right.
that's
You
not
can
an,
get-
that's not an
you can
issue for me. But
Yeah, you can get SD, the compact flash adapters, and some of them will still let it work, but not all.
Nice.
I have delved into the iFi a couple times and looked at it, and I've read some reviews and I've talked to some people, and it basically, because I've got a friend of mine here who's a few streets away. He's a professional photographer. He bought one for the same reason that I thought it would be cool. Take the picture, bam, shows up on the computer. Apparently, that's not quite as easy as it sounds.
Yep.
And it requires a fair amount of technical sophistication in order to get that to work. And it's almost to the point where you pretty much have to work with one camera and one computer all the time. Otherwise, it just doesn't work.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
what
it's
I
very
wanted,
temperamental.
yeah, what I wanted was something that literally I could click and it would connect to my wireless and dump it onto my network attached storage.
Yeah,
Bam, done.
It's called tethering.
Yeah, well, but I wanted wireless tethering to a NAS, and it
You
won't
can do that, but
No.
you're going to pay.
Oh, yeah, Boku.
Yeah.
Bucks. By the way, I'm looking on Nikon's website right now, and I'm looking to see if their newest low-end SLR, the line that I traditionally buy, if that
Mhm.
even has NFC,
Mhm.
and I'm not seeing it. But I'm
Well, they do.
Most of the mirrorless now have it, especially all the Sonys. They're
yeah.
mirrorless. They are going with NFC. I think Canon has a few. Not Canon, Panasonic, with their mirrorless has
Yeah, it
NFC.
seems like that would be something that the kind of the not no offense intended to Sony and Panasonic, but kind of the off brands might use as a feature to try to pull you in. But I'm looking. No, it says Wi-Fi connection functionality. It actually says iFi compatible, but it doesn't mention anything
About
to
NFC.
do NFC. No, so I don't
Hmm.
think that's an issue for them.
Well, like I said, it was just a thought.
Right.
Because again, Snapseed, it's a really, really nice editor that anybody can use, but then they added this one additional element to it that I thought was a little over the top as far as just the regular Joe Schmo goes. But that was it. Anyway, let's move on. Mr. Kelly, you had some photos that you wanted to share. Can you pull those up?
Check my screen.
There we go. All right, now I
Way
see.
ahead of you.
All right.
Now,
What you got here?
here is the aforementioned Picasa. But the reason why I'm bringing this particular photo up, this is shot with the Nexus 6 HDR mode, then edited black and white conversion and contrast, and I think the structure tweak as well. Thank you, Mike Sweeney. In Snapseed, exported as a black and white and brought in full res to Picasa. Now, I'm going to tell you why this particular photo and then two others that I'm going to show you are particularly significant to me. Let me see. This one here. And again, shot with the Nexus 6, edited in Snapseed, and then exported to Dropbox, which was then dropped directly onto the phone. And
Looks good.
Thank you. By the way, the backstory on this, I joined a Facebook group at a suggestion of someone I know. He said, well, you know, you really ought to post that on the Railroad Pictures in Black and White group. I said, the what? And I went chasing after it, and there's a Facebook group for Railroad Pictures specifically done in black and white. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I have found my home. This is my people. Because I absolutely love the styling of black and white photography when it's done properly. I'm going to throw that in there. So these were taken with the intention of editing them in black and white and putting them onto this group on Facebook, which is why you're going to see that they're all three black and whites. Now the other one, hang on just a second here, SP Photographers Windows Challenge, no, Frame Challenge. Some of you might remember this one from our Frame Challenge.
I remember that area. I don't remember that shot, but I remember that building.
Okay, well, that was let me see. The one that you actually saw was this one, or might have been that shot. That's the color version. That's the black and white that you guys probably saw. Turned out that it was only a low-res export from the editor I used, so I had to retweak it, and I retweaked it. But this is, again, Nexus 6. This particular one was then tweaked in... I can't remember what I used to tweak that one. It might have been Light Zone. Either way, it was tweaked, but it was shot on the Nexus 6 for this group, turned into a black and white, and then, as I say, uploaded. Now, I know what you're going to say. What do all three of these photos have to do with each other? They are all three the first photos that I have sold that I have taken with a smartphone.
Outstanding.
I have sold prints.
That's awesome, man. Good stuff.
And here's the catch. I took those three and 7 other photos from my digital SLR. Let's see. And I actually have them here. I haven't delivered them to the customer yet.
Now, you do know we won't be able to see them worth a crap on this live stream, right?
But, I mean, here is the 11 by 14 print.
Outstanding.
Of that black and white that you saw kind of in the middle there. And I took those three, and the rest are all 8 by 10s. I took those 3 shots, and I took the 7 others that I sold in the same order that were all taken with various SLRs over about an 8-year period. And I put all the prints next to each other in front of the girl at the photo lab who did the printing. And I said, I'm going to tell you something right now. The 3 of these 10 photos were taken with a smartphone. And I said, pick which 3. Now, this is a woman that prints photos all day long. This is her job. She sees good, bad, ugly, out of focus, blurry, 110 Kodak camera. I said, pull out the 3. that are taken with a smartphone. She could not pull out any of the 3.
That's what's up.
So then I took them to the optics counter next door. This was at a Sam's Club, and one of the people that works at the optics counter used to be the boss of the photo lab. And I laid them all out, and I said, pull 3 out that were taken with a smartphone. She couldn't do it.
That's good stuff, man.
Then I took it to my friend that professional photographer a couple of streets over. Told him the same thing. After 3 tries and eliminating 3 photos each time,
right,
he finally managed to pick them out. So the point is that these things are legitimate cameras. With the proper editing, with the proper printing, they can be commercially viable.
Yeah.
And I have now sold 10 prints, 3 of which were on a device that I would have bought anyway.
That's what's up. That's good stuff, Joey. Congrats on that, man. And I appreciate you sharing that, because again, a lot of people in society have this whole I guess you could say complex about it being inferior, and just don't even want to shake a stick at it. Give it a chance, give it a shot. You never know. But good stuff, man.
I think it does depend an awful lot on the phone. I will say that.
Yeah, and I will say some phone cameras are better than other phone cameras, but did I say that right? Camera phones, whatever. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this week's challenge.
I was going to say something. That the phone camera has gotten so good. I actually sold my point-and-shoot G10, which shot raw files.
So you decided to just move on and just keep the phone because it's just as good, right?
It's my carry with me point and shoot.
Yeah.
And when I want to do serious stuff, I'll pull out my 5D Mark III.
Gotcha. Good stuff. All right. Well, we're going to get into this week's challenge that was proposed from community member Miss Annette Holland. Appreciate her pulling this challenge out and giving us something to do. It was based on fall panoramas. In general, she said, it's that time of year. Get your butt off the couch, get outside, and go shoot some nice fall panos. Something that's going to capture the mood and the season, if you will. And unfortunately, we got to it a little bit late. And also, a lot of us were having weather problems. It's for me in particular, and I want to say down in Texas, there was a lot of rain. It's just a lot of people didn't get in weather and couldn't get out. So we didn't get as many photos submitted this go around, but we got 10 and we got some pretty good ones in here. And what we like to do is we go through and highlight a handful of them, and then we take a look at the winning shot. And as we're highlighting them, we talk about what we like and we talk about what we don't like, and offer up suggestions and tips and criticism, all in the effort to make everyone better at this little craft. All right. So let me share my screen here.
And also for some of us, we haven't had fall yet. It's
all
good.
Right. That's another thing.
And
on Mars or something.
If you live in the South, our fall comes right a couple of weeks before Thanksgiving, and then by Thanksgiving, all the trees have lost their leaves because it goes from fall to gone.
Too late,
bang. Right, that's the thing, because we have one little window that it does like that for weeks, and then bang, gone. And that's going to be starting next week. We got some cold weather coming in.
All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at a handful of them. Speaking of fall isn't here yet, this first shot here. This is from my man Mike Wilson. I believe Michael is here in my area, not too far. And we got some of the trees. It's got the orange and whatnot, but there's still a lot of places that still feel like spring. You got nice, beautiful green grass, as he's showing here. But he does have a few fall leaves mixed in with this shot.
I'd like to remind you that you suck. I'm just
Well, it's the South. We do get seasons here in this particular area. We do get seasons, and
at least we do get season. Instead of having to do like California, they have their fall fake trees.
Right. It's not the same in our region. But I wanted to just point out his shot there because I thought that was pretty funny
I
as
like that.
he basically showed what our region was. Okay, so let's get into a few here. I like this that one. There we go. This shot comes from a man, Chris Seam, and everybody may not quite get the whole panorama definition. And some people will look at that and say that's not a pano.
Yes, it is.
Um, and in my opinion, yes, it is a pano. It is just a vertical panoramic shot, not necessarily a horizontal panorama shot that we're used to. Chris uses a Galaxy S6, I believe. Yep, he did. And he's up in the Spokane, Washington area. So if you can imagine that state this time of year in that area, oh my gosh, I bet it's beautiful. And looking at this photo, I'm sure it is. This shot here, it looks like he used another filter on top of it after he went through and worked on some of the color saturation. I like this shot a great deal. I like the way that he cropped it, and I love the way the colors really pop on this shot. I can't say that there's much that I would have done different on it, Chris. This is one of your better ones in my opinion. What do you think on this, Mr. Kelly?
Well, I have one comment, and it's not about the photo necessarily.
Okay.
But the problem with a pano, when you put a challenge out that says panoramas, there's two things that people naturally expect. For one thing, they naturally think horizontal, which is not necessarily something that you should hold to, because as I've mentioned several times previously, break all the rules as long as it tells me a story. And that's one of the reasons why I like this, because it is a vertical pano. The catch is that I don't feel that it's vertical enough.
Yeah, because it cuts off top of the tree.
No, because it makes me think that this is a regular horizontal shot that he cropped. Not necessarily that he did that.
Yeah, but that's just.
But I'm just saying, you could take a horizontal or even a vertical picture and just make it look like a bookmark, and you'd have this. Now, I wasn't there. It's probably is 2, 3, 4 shots put together in the panel editor, but it looks like it could be one shot that's been cropped to give the pano effect. Again, not a criticism.
I know some cameras, when you do smartphone cameras, if you instead of going, if you put it in pano and put it in I'm trying to think of the word, landscape mode, it will take fewer shots as you move it. Because I know the iPhone will. If you put it in pano and you put it landscape, it will take the shots, but it'll cut. It doesn't go as far. You can get a good pano, but it does make it kind of narrow too, just like that. It will stitch them together as that, but it will sometimes make them a little bit, make it look like a vertical. I mean, a regular picture that you've cropped down to make it look like a pano.
I've never shot a panoramic this way. I've seen them. I have some aspirations to shoot a vertical panoramic, but I haven't had the ideal conditions yet, because I'd like to shoot a vertical panoramic of the night sky, being able to see the ground if possible, and then to just taking it straight up. That's something that I'd like to do one day. I just haven't had that opportunity to do it yet.
And that's what I'm getting at, is that if you take, like, for instance, the picture I put in the challenge, one of them, was a full 360-degree pano.
Yeah.
When you look at that, there's no question in your mind that it's a pano, because there's no camera on the face of the planet that can take one image that is that wide. There's no question. It has to be a pano. In this case, the vertical, it's great. Not taking anything away from the picture, Chris. Don't take me bad. But if he had gone one more shot down towards the root, and one or two more shots into the air, then it would have been obvious that there was no way that this could be anything other than a pano. And I'm not saying it isn't, but I'm just saying that the appearance is somewhat off.
Gotcha. All right, let's take a look at another shot here. Close that one. What's this? That was another one from Chris. I won't do that. Let's pull out somebody else's here. Let's pull on Mr. Joey's photo. Speaking of the extra wide shot there. Now, my beef with this panoramic, and I've seen it a lot with some of my own shots, and I was assuming that it was the Nexus 6, but I've also seen it with my mirrorless camera. I think panoramic shots like this are way too narrow from a vertical aspect. I wish we could get probably up to here on this shot and still keep it the same width, you know? Because a lot of times you get, I think a lot of times you're losing out on a certain mood by cutting out an upper piece of the shot, or you're missing out on another story that could be down here if you couldn't necessarily capture it, you know, all the way across like this. But I like the tone of this.
I disagree, and the only reason why I disagree is that I think that you're getting thrown off by the visuals.
Mhm.
I don't feel that these photos are any shorter or taller resolution-wise significantly from your normal photo. It's just because it's so wide, your eye wants it to be taller.
Well, I mean, dude, look right there. 608 wide. That's not tall at all. I mean, give me at least 1,000.
That's always going to be the one problem when you do with panos, and some cameras are worse about making it narrower than others, but with all panel, but there's this one that I forgot who makes it, that will take a picture that takes it at 360 degrees, top, bottom, and around you.
Yep. That's another option on the Nexus 6. It's called Photosphere.
Photosphere, yeah.
Yeah,
and this one's a standalone camera that it runs Android. So I forgot who makes it, but it's about $250. Leo's been showing it off a lot. Doing pictures of the studio.
Oh, I've seen him talk about that. Yeah,
and it's neat looking. I can't. It does a pano, but it's a true pano. But you can actually zoom around, go up, down.
Yep.
Everything that makes it even more immersive.
And another thing that I have an issue with Panorama is you really got to be on your game when you're panning from left to right or right to left or what have you, because of how things can get stitched. I don't know if this is a natural bowing in the earth right there, or if that fence is supposed to come straight all the way across like that.
No, it's natural bowing in the earth. It's a little more, I dare say it's exaggerated slightly.
Yeah, I get that a lot in some of my panos, that when you see curvy areas, they tend to stand out a lot more in the panoramic version of the shot versus just a regular point and shoot version of the shot.
Again,
this was actually an educational shot for me too. Not to cut you off, Mike, but I shot a small pano, and then what I did was I shot 3 shots in the and then said, okay, I'm going to put this into a pano later, in post.
Yeah.
And when I did that, it was it was the worst pano I had ever seen in my life, and. Literally, I mean, ghosting and stuff in there twice and blurred and blah, 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 blah. So what it told me was that this particular Nexus or this particular camera has a very, very bad habit of having the edges of the photo, having that curled appearance.
Yep.
And I forget, there's a technical term for that, vignetting maybe?
Yep.
And this particular camera on the Nexus has a very bad problem with that. So, I mean, I don't know if it's obvious. It probably isn't because of the way it's stitched. But this full 360-degree turn took something like 14 individual exposures.
Right.
If I was doing this on my DSLR, I would have probably done it in 6.
Really?
Yeah, because the lens does not have that curling effect, and that's kind of what I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And it really wasn't. And I think that's also one of the reasons why it's so darn narrow, is that it's only taking the center of the lens,
Yeah.
not the full height. And apologize, I'm going to redact my comment about it having tall pixels. I didn't actually look at it.
And Joey, I've seen a few examples of mine where if I wanted to take a panoramic shot, but instead of taking 4, I take 2 exposures, and it's not as compressed from the height standpoint.
Yep, because you have more to work with. I think, because the other thing about the panorama is that there's a slight variation in height every time you take the picture. No matter how hard you try, there's always a slight variation.
Yeah, it's not going to be perfect.
Right. So what it does is it crops to the lowest common denominator.
Yeah. Okay.
On both the top and the bottom. So theoretically, the more you would shoot, the less height you would get.
Okay.
And a matter of fact, I think there's a 3-shot pano.
Averages.
Yeah, there's a 3-shot pano in here. Bad example on the there's a 3-shot pano that I put in, and it is taller. You can tell it's taller. Let me find it. The one that the one that's posted is a compressed, because I tweaked it in Picasa. After.
I got you here. I got you on screen.
Yeah, well, the actual height of it, 3-shot pano, is 2,676 pixels tall.
Okay.
So it's more than 3 times taller than the one that was like 12 or 14.
Wow.
Yep.
That's interesting.
But even then, you do have that on the end. You get that vignetting because that light pole is perfectly straight in real life.
In real life, it is.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And see, and I like this shot better, because I feel like I could see more with this particular photo. I mean, I'm not necessarily paying any attention to the light alignment. But I just like the fact that I have a quote-unquote full picture when I look over here on my screen. What are your thoughts on this one, Mr. King?
Here we go. Yeah. Just had to get my microphone. I take the one, as everybody says, the one problem with panos is if you take the real long ones, it gets real narrow, and you have the vignettings more noticeable. But the shorter, just 3 or 4 pictures, I like them because they do have their pano, but yet they're a lot taller.
What are your thoughts on this one?
I like this one. I like it a lot. It does have the actual vignetting problem with the light pole, but I really think this one's better than the first one that Joey did. This is his best shot.
I agree.
Well, I can't win them all.
No, you can't. I won't allow it, actually. I try to go in and fix it, I guess. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, let's take a look at our winning photo here before we get out of here. It's running a little long. All right. And I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce his last name again because I screwed it up so badly last time. But this is from my man Jose. Jose is a fairly new member. He just come in fairly recently. And last week he had a very, very nice photograph in there. And this week he just upped his game and won the challenge with this photo here. He uses a Galaxy S6 Edge. He didn't necessarily get into any other detail as far as his thought process and editing, but right off the bat, I really, really enjoyed this shot with one nitpick. Get rid of that right there, that little horizon line there. I don't think it adds anything to that shot, so just get rid of it. And I had already thought about that previously, so we're going to see what it looks like if we got rid of that.
And there goes the famous ant cropping tool.
Famous or infamous?
Whatever. Both.
So right there, yeah. There. So that shot right there works for me.
It was a good shot to begin with.
It
But
was.
I agree with you with the same thing with that. That's the other thing with the panos. It distorts. You might have it perfectly level, but it distorts the background a little bit, where it's not quite as even. But by doing it, if you cropped it like that, you took a already fabulous picture and made it even better, I think.
So yeah, right about there.
Right there. So that's it.
But on the
At the
outside of
risk,
that, I like let me minimize this. Outside of that, I like the color on it, and I think it's a little bright in some spots. You could probably turn down the highlights a little bit, just a little bit. Um, the focus is fine, but this shot does tell me it's fall. It's the season of fall. So well done on that. Go ahead, Joe. You about to say something?
yeah, I was gonna say I disagree. I like the band of green at the top,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it provides an additional contrast to all of the dark colors in the center and the darker, I'm assuming, wood that all of these leaves and whatnot are sitting on.
Uh-huh.
So I like that, and it is not distracting to me because it is blurred and whatnot. And I like it. I think that actually adds to it. I don't feel that that's a detraction.
Okay. Well, we disagree for once. It's all good. I
I'm trying to channel Sweeney.
and see when you say it doesn't distract you, what distracts me about it is the fact that Mr. King pointed on is it's not an even line. You know, it's a lot thicker green band right here, and then it sort of thins out, and then it stops right along in there. You know, but again, that's nothing he did. That's part of the panel process. As we talked about a few minutes ago. But Jose, again, congratulations to you on this shot here, my man, for getting the most votes. And it's a macro, as Mr. Thomas Olson said, another previous winner, a macro panoramic shot. I'm curious to know how in the heck did you do this? Because me personally, when I'm doing a panoramic, I'm standing, and it's hard enough to keep steady and still and pan just standing up. How did you do this on the ground, dude?
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he has like one of those little Jobies or something like that.
At a dolly?
No, it's not, or something like that that has a swivel head.
Oh, okay.
That was able to swivel a little bit, and
Okay.
it kept it absolutely level.
Oh.
And some of the phones have a very, very, very good stitching program. You can be a little off, and it will actually keep everything. It'll cut here, like that, to keep it all even.
Nice. All right. So that's it. Mr. Jose, you are now on the clock to get a new challenge submitted to the community members. So if you have issues with that, feel free to reach out to me with your idea, and I will post the new challenge on your behalf. Just let us know all of your little rules and stipulations and parameters and whatnot on what the challenge is, so we can get out there and get the shooting. All right. It's time to get up out of here, gentlemen. This has been a great discussion as usual with you guys. I'm going to allow you to sign off and let everybody know where we can find you in the nice, wonderful world of the internet, as well as some of your work. So let's start with you down in Tejas, Mr. King.
I can be found on everywhere. It's either Michael King or Michael King 4023. And this weekend, I'm going to get once again found in Friendswood, taking care of more claims.
Of course. Well, it's good to see you as always, my man. Glad to have you here this evening.
This is a distraction from all the bad weather. Well, it began while you were still here.
Yeah,
that week before, and then it just the second weekend it got even worse.
Yeah, you can keep it there. Appreciate you joining us this evening, bro.
Anytime.
Lastly, my man up in Maine, Mr. Kelly, where do we find you and your work?
Best place to find me is Joey, Joey Kelly, KELLEY smartphone.com. And that will get you over to all kinds of different things. If you Google Joey Kelly and you spell it wrong, you will get a guy who's a circus clown. So be sure.
And what's the difference?
He literally has a circus tent and clowns.
Well,
yeah.
Still, what's the difference?
I don't wear makeup.
Are you sure?
Oh my gosh. Anyway, carry on.
Yes, I am sure. And now anti-siloning.
Go ahead.
Go.
You're breaking up.
He wants you to keep going. Sign us out. And he froze.
So Joey's bad. What about me?
Oh, you're horrible.
Oh wow.
Joey, he wants you to finish up the show.
Well, evidently. Ant, you want me to do that?
Do I sound okay now?
No, you're breaking up real bad.
Okay, well.
Sign us out, Joey.
Okay, then. For myself, Joey Kelly, and all the other members of the Smartphone Photographers community and the moderators, I'd like to thank you all for watching Point and Shoot today. Check us out at smartphone-photographers.com, where you'll get to see the reruns of all of our shows. And feel free to apply for membership within the Google Plus community, Smartphone Photographers, hosted by Ant Pruitt. Membership is not immediately offered, but you do have to apply. Be sure that you have a couple of pictures so that we know that you're not a spam bot. So for myself and the rest of the team, you all have a wonderful week, and we will see you at the end of the next challenge. Have a great night.